Hello everyone, today I'm answering questions about the deadlift.
How much can you deadlift?
As of this morning, there are 618 questions. I'll get to a handful of them. Before I get to the questions, Caffeine and Kilos deadlift only event, I'm hosting it. It's in Elk Grove, California. Deadlift only, powerlifting rules, non-sanctioned event, no singlet required. You can still sign up. I'll put a link to sign up down in the description right below. I hope to see you there. The first question I'm gonna answer is, Alan, what kind of shoes are you deadlifting in? I can't seem to find these deadlift shoes anywhere online. Can you show me a link? These are old Adidas wrestling shoes that were purchased from like Big Five Sporting Goods on the clearance rack when I was in high school. These things are very old. I like a flat shoe, so I wear these. There's nothing special about them. I don't know where you can find them online. Just type in Adidas wrestling shoe and you got yourself a pair of these sweet deadlifting shoes. First question comes from Andre Staby 93. What kind of mobility work would be good for deadlift, being able to maintain a neutral back as much as possible? If you were my client, if I was your coach, I wouldn't prescribe any mobility work if you were having trouble keeping your back flat at the start of the deadlift, because I think that can be coached. I run into a lot of clients that have this issue. So the first thing I would do is motivate and encourage you through words. Get your chest up, back flat, don't pull yet, back flat.
Get your freaking chest up!
And a lot of times just telling them over and over and over sometimes helps. If that still doesn't help, I would have them perform kind of the normal 5-step deadlift setup that I've talked about on this channel, where they set up to the bar is right around mid-foot, and then actually set their back at the top and hold that tight back as they bend over to grab the bar. So rather than just bending over with a round back and then having to squeeze your chest up, you just keep your chest up at the start, back flat, bend over to grab the bar. And a lot of times that helps. And I'll also add that it's okay if things aren't perfect. Just do your best, and sometimes these things improve with time. Next question comes from Ariel Dadish. How can I train the deadlift around a lower back tweak? I don't have a trap bar in my gym. I'm sure that you can still deadlift, whether it's just 65 pounds with 10-pound bumper plates, or can you deadlift an empty barbell in a squat rack, like a rack pull? If you want to get back to deadlifting as soon as possible, it's wise to deadlift through this back tweak rather than not deadlift and hope that your deadlift gets better. When my clients experience back tweaks, I try to reassure them and let them know that these things usually heal or get better much sooner than you think they do. I've shared my experience with a back tweak. I've had a number of them, but one in particular, I know that it's just my experience, but the story's helpful for some. I tweaked my back deadlifting on a Friday, couldn't bend over, didn't sleep all night because I was just locked up, stiff as a board. Monday, I squatted 495 with no pain. And I talk about how I did that in the video, so you can check that out. But anyways, Ariel, what I would probably do is see what we can do that doesn't hurt your back. And if deadlifting from the floor or from the floor height in a rack is painful, I'm probably gonna start at a very lightweight, like empty barbell. If you find that squatting doesn't bother it, I might have you squat an extra day a week. Or you might find that rack pulls just below the knee actually don't hurt. It's from the floor that hurts. And you can actually load that with an okay amount of weight. I would have you still squat twice a week, deadlift light once a week from the floor, work your way back up, and then on the second day, have you do rack pulls so that you can get some productive training in. Kyle Weir, 22, I think I have a problem getting my knees out of the way on the way up and on the way down sometimes. Do I just need to focus more on clearing my knees, or is there a greater form problem? I recently made a video about this. Toes out, knees out for the deadlift actually lets you bend your knees without having them travel too far forward. So go check that video out. I explain a bit more in depth in that video. Pushing the knees out allows them to go out and not so far forward. So usually that clears your knees out of the way of the bar. It's also important that you're not sitting your hips down too low and sending your knees too far forward. I will talk more about knee position and hip position later on in this video, because I saw a question that I can use that answer for that question. So toes out, knees out, and make sure your knees are not traveling too far forward. Now on the way down, what I suggest doing is keeping your back tight, sliding the bar down your thighs like you're doing a Romanian deadlift. And then once the bar passes your knees, you can bend your knees and lower it to the floor. If you're running into your knees on the way down, that tells me that you are not sitting your butt back and doing a Romanian deadlift on the way down. You're actually just sending your knees forward, and now the bar has to go down this ramp that your thighs are creating. And it's probably scraping the top of your knees. Los Boogie 419. Do you do your deadlifting before your squats or after? Or do you just separate your deadlift days and squat days in general? So I deadlift and squat on the same day sometimes. Twice a week, like today for example, I did deadlift and I'll do a squat variation, safety squat bar. Earlier this week I did deadlifts and then I did belt squats. So typically the first movement is the movement that we want to emphasize. So if it's my deadlift day, I'm gonna do deadlifts first and then a squat variation. Right now I don't do squats and deadlifts on the same day, but some of my clients do. If they train 3 days a week, I kind of have to cram that stuff in. And so on day one, they might do their normal squat and then a deadlift variation. So yes, I rarely ever do a normal squat workout and a normal deadlift workout, like a competition squat and a competition deadlift on the same workout, unless I'm in some sort of specialization block and I'm a couple weeks out from a meet, I might do that. But typically it's a squat with a deadlift variation on one day, another day would be a deadlift and a squat variation. The Islas, I've tried your 5 steps before deadlifting and still can't get into position. I'm a big guy, why is that? So big guys who've got a big front porch are really gonna have to point their toes out and their knees out to clear some space so that their stomach, their belly is not smashing into their thighs. And they actually might go with a wider stance than a taller, skinnier person. I actually used to work with a guy who years ago we competed in a meet together, and he's a little bit bigger guy, and he kind of pulls with this hybrid sumo conventional stance. His stance is not particularly wide, but he puts his hands inside of his feet like a sumo deadlift. And he's 72 now, and he's pulled 424. So it works really well for him. You could try that out. Stone Fitness 101. How do I know if I'm dropping my hips low enough or not? What is too low? So I'm gonna take a tip that I actually learned from Austin. He and Jordan made a video about this. I was there while they were filming it for the Barbell Medicine YouTube channel, and it was months ago, and they haven't uploaded it. I don't know why. I don't know if there was something wrong with the audio or whatnot, but I'll just tell you guys now. So the tip is for almost everyone, and I've really been paying attention to this lately with myself and with my clients, but in a good deadlift starting position, your knees are gonna be right inside the crease of your elbows. And the front of your knee is gonna be flush with the front of your arm. So if your knees are traveling in front of your arms, your hips are too low and your knees are too far forward. If your knees are starting behind your arms, your hips are probably too high and your knees are too far back. You see, as you drop your hips, your knees go forward. As you bring your knees back, your hips come up. So a good reference point is put your knees right inside the crease of your elbows, and that will usually do the trick to put your hips in the correct position.